Pro, Ultra, Max. These are all words. Words that we use to express the most amazing, epic things in the universe. Words so great they can crush you with their awesomeness. I didn't mean literally. As I was testing this, the Redmi Pad 2 Pro, I kept going back to the box and asking, what is this called again? Did I get the label right? So first of all, this is not a bad Android tablet. It's a perfectly fine Android tablet. It's even got some things going for it. A larger 12-inch screen, a Snapdragon 7S Gen 4 processor, optional accessories like the pen and this fancy keyboard cover, even a matte screen option for us nerdy artists who like the textured feel while drawing. But does it feel pro? No, it feels mid-tier. And I have this picture in my head of what a pro tablet is, and I really had to let that go for this review, because if you look at the price, it's around $400 US, though it's not officially released here yet, so finding out exactly how much it costs, a little tough right now. So now that we've gotten this out of the way, let's talk about this nice mid-tier Android tablet and how it ranks against some of the other tablets I've reviewed for art and design. I rank all those on my website, so if you want an easy place to find all those reviews, go there. Now Xiaomi, they sent this over to me. My thoughts are my own. They sent the tablet, a case, a keyboard, and the Redmi USI stylus. Now what comes in the box is pretty minimal. Just a tablet, a power adapter, and the charging cord. This thing looks and feels like, well, an Android tablet. Squared off aluminum sides, nice colorful screen, decent speakers. Looks like you got a 2-camera setup along the back, but that's a little bit of a fake out. One of those lenses is actually the flash. The display is a reasonable 12.1 inches. That's a little bigger than your standard 11-inch display that you find on a lot of Android tablets. It's a nice IPS LCD display that goes up to 120 Hz and has a resolution of 1600 by 2550. The colors look good, the screen looks good. I like it. Where it could be better is in places like the viewing angles. Like when I draw on it, I often have it down on my lap or down on my desk, so I do notice the colors getting darker if I'm not positioned directly over top of it. It also doesn't get super bright. It gets up to 600 nits of brightness, which is totally fine for any kind of indoor use, but I ended up keeping it around 80-90% brightness most of the time. Now, the colors, they look good. They pop pretty well. They did send over the matte screen variant. That's the one that has the coating on it. Now that, I am a big fan of the matte screen coatings. As someone who likes to draw on these, it's a nice additional touch, gives me a little bit more control with the stylus. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of USI stylus. A lot more on that in a minute. But the texture screen did make this more fun to draw with, did give me more control, and that did make me like the stylus a little bit. Now, deep within its beating heart lies a dragon, a snapdragon to be exact. Now, this is a Snapdragon 7S Gen 4 processor. This is a newer chip, but it's definitely one of the mid-range Snapdragon processors out there. And it is solid for what you're getting. It can run any art app you throw at it. It's pretty decent at games. And they even managed to fit a 12,000 milliamp battery in this tablet. Internally, we have 128 gigabytes of storage with the 6 gigabytes of RAM. You also have a 256 gigabyte option, which comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM. But if you need more storage, there's also an SD card slot, a micro SD card slot along the side. So as I run through these specs, it's a mid-range Android tablet. Screen, good enough. Processor, good enough. The only thing I would really consider special or a differentiator about this Android tablet are those matte screen options. If you are interested in drawing on a tablet like this and want to learn more about art, check out my website, bradsartschool.com, where I have courses like Intro to Digital Art, which teaches you all about the brushes and fancy settings in many of the apps that are available for Android. Or my Learn to Draw in 60 Days course, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's really geared for beginners. bradsartschool.com if you want to learn more. Okay. It's time to look at this pen. I think this is the 7th or 8th USI stylus that I've tested this year, and guess what? They are all identical. They all feel the same. For writing or general use, these kinds of styluses are absolutely fine. Even for sketching, they're pretty good. Now, this stylus charges via a USB port along the side of the pen. It holds a charge for several days, sometimes over a week if you're not using it too much. Sometimes these pens will magnetically attach to the side of the tablet, so you have a nice place to store it when you're not using it. That isn't the case here. No magnets involved, although one of the cases does have a little loopy-doop in it, so if you want to slide the pen in that, you can do that, but just be ready to accommodate for your pen and trying not to get it lost. Now, where the USI stylus tends to fall down a little bit is when I'm trying to get nice, clean line art. I draw a lot of cartoons. I have a lot of line art that I like to make as straight and as smooth as possible, and these styluses just don't do that particularly well. There's just a lot of mechanical wave to this pen. This is most noticeable on slow angled lines. This also appears while I'm doing curved lines, going around corners, even at moderate speeds. It's hard to counteract. I often will use a stroke straightener or something like that, which will mechanically straighten my strokes, but that has its own downsides. Like, for example, it makes the line a little bit laggier, makes it less fun to draw with. It makes your edges, if you try to draw a point, more loopy looking. I just prefer a pen that can organically draw smooth lines instead of having to rely on the software to accommodate for that. Now, I have mentioned before the matte texture on the screen. Since we are in the drawing section, might as well reiterate it. I really like it, guys. I really do. Even though this doesn't help with the wavy lines at all, it does give me more drawing control, and that is always a big plus. I wish more Android tablets had this option available. Now, palm rejection, how is it? It's okay. When I started drawing in Clip Studio, I saw exactly what I expected to, which was my hand was leading a lot of blobs and lines there on the canvas, and so I was able to go into the settings and toggle some things off so that my hand couldn't draw at all to kind of turn that sort of thing off. So that palm rejection is really going to work kind of on an app-by-app basis, but since I was able to adjust it, I was pretty happy with it. Now, to this pen's credit, the accuracy is spot on, the pressure sensitivity is pretty good, and there isn't a ton of lag. You can find lag in these drawing apps. I'm sure as you're watching me draw, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, the lag is terrible. But that's not really the fault of the pen or the tablet itself. That's really coming from these apps. If you go into the Me Canvas app, which comes with this tablet, you can see when an app is super optimized for drawing, you're not going to get any of that lag. In fact, it's like even when I slow it down, you can't see pen lag in this app. It can be really well optimized. Android apps just tend not to be. By the way, I'm using Clip Studio Paint here in the background mostly. That's where I tend to get the cleanest lines. I also just really like drawing in Clip Studio Paint. Apps like Krita, which is kind of like a desktop interface because it's derived from the desktop app, that tends to get worse lines. So that app, even though it's free, tends to work worse on a tablet like this and works better on like the Samsung tablets or a Wacom tablet. Let's jump over to these cases because I thought the Folio case was great. Well, at least I really like it. I mean, it's not the greatest case in the world, but a lot of these manufacturers have been getting cute with the way their cases fold up lately, and those look neat. I will agree with that. But if you just need to prop it up to watch some videos, a fancy looking case is fine. But I prefer the simple trifold because it lets me prop it up to watch content, but it also lets me prop it down on my desk at a nice drawing angle. Something the fancy pants cases don't do particularly well. This case does not attach magnetically to the back of the tablet like we see a lot of other Android tablets do this day. It clips into place by kind of covering the edges of your tablet. Now, some people love that. I've never been a fan of it, mostly because I like the magnet method. It allows me to put it in one case, and then when I'm done, it's really easy to just pull that case off and pop it onto my keyboard case and type with it, and then move back to the Folio case. Snapping it on and off is just a little bit more inconvenient if you're jumping between cases. If you're a person who uses one case and are done, this probably won't affect you in any way. Now, the keyboard case, it's okay. It gets the job done. A lot of these work through connection pins that power the keyboard. Oftentimes those pins are along the back or along the bottom of the tablet. This tablet does not have that. This tablet, in this keyboard anyway, is 100% Bluetooth. No connector pins here. So you need to go into the settings. You need to pair this. You're also going to have to plug a USB Type-C cord into this every so often, charge up your keyboard, and you're going to also probably going to want to remember to turn the keyboard off when you're not using it so you can save on battery. Now, this does have the plus side of when the tablet is not connected to the keyboard, you can use the keyboard off to the side or fold it up, use it in front of the tablet. So if you want to use it that way, that's kind of cool. The keys themselves, they're kind of cheap. They're really squeaky when I was typing with it. I wrote most of this review on the tablet itself, so they get the job done. I wouldn't expect an amazing experience with this keyboard, but it's fine. And overall, that's kind of my feeling with these accessories. They're decent. Definitely not something I would consider pro, but more on the budget end of build quality. Comparing this specific tablet to other tablets out there right now is a little bit hard. And the main reason for me is from the US, from my vantage point, I have a really hard time getting a read on what the price of this thing is. I think if you're in a lot of Asian markets, these Redmi tablets tend to be the cheapest thing around. And I think in that case, like if you're looking at a really low price, it's a decent Android tablet. Over here, when you're looking in the $400+ range for this, especially when you get the matte texture on the front, I would much rather go with a Samsung tablet or an XP Pen or what Wacom is doing right now with their Android tablets. When I look over at Samsung, I just like the S Pen better, and that's what I'd prefer to go with. It just gives me a nice clean line, gives me that great accuracy. I'm just a bigger fan of that pen. And of course, when we're talking about Wacom or XP Pen, those are even better pens. Those are fantastic Android drawing experiences, even though those are pushing up more into like the $500 range. In fact, Wacom has just announced a brand new Pro version of their Move Ink Android tablet. That thing is $1,000. Definitely not a mid-range tablet there, but it comes with Samsung's Pro Pen 3, which is probably, no, I'm going to go further. It is the best drawing experience on an Android tablet, hands down. It really compares favorably with the Apple Pencil. And so in general, that is what we have here. This may not be a pro level tablet, but it's a decent mid-range tablet with decent features, decent screen, and depending on what you're doing with a pen, I guess a decent pen, as long as you don't need good line work. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.